Hi, this is Sydney. Welcome to my channel. This is my first video essay, but I've always wanted to make one. So this one will be all about Marissa Cooper from the OC and why I personally think that her story and her character didn't really stand a chance. This video will have spoilers for the OC, so if you've never seen it and you really care about spoilers for a show that ended almost 2 decades ago, maybe go watch it. It's on like HBO Max and come back to this video. But let's get started. Who is Marissa Cooper? When we open the OC, Marissa is one of the first characters that Ryan meets, so the audience meets. She's waiting outside of her home, which is next door to the Cohens, which is Ryan's new family that he's moving in with, and she's asking to borrow his cigarette while she is waiting for her boyfriend Luke to pick her up. Marissa Cooper is the quintessential popular girl. She's the social chair of her high school. She wears Chanel dresses. She's beautiful. She has rich parents, this boyfriend that has a lot of status. She is the it girl. And we quickly learned that might not necessarily be as true as it looks to us from the outside, but that's how we're introduced to her character. So let's get into some of the more specific things about Marissa, starting with her parents. Oh, Marissa Cooper's parents, how I love and hate you so. The first parent we want to talk about is Julie Cooper, which is Marissa's mother. She is a social climber. She is not a native to the Newport Beach, the OC lifestyle. She really clawed her way there, married into it, but has really risen in status within that society, and she will do anything to stay there. She literally does anything to stay there. She's very focused on keeping up appearances and isn't a good listener at all. There are moments in the series where Marissa is obviously and very specifically telling her what she needs, and Julie just, it goes right over her head. She's an opportunist, and for much of the series, when we're looking at her from Marissa's point of view, which is how we tend to see her, it's hard to have any sympathy for her character or see any redeemable qualities. She isn't a source of comfort. She doesn't provide any safety really for Marissa. She's the enemy. And why wouldn't she? When you think about it, her mom ignores her whenever she says she's struggling, often tries to send her away and like throw money at the problem whenever Marissa's in trouble, and focuses on that need to maintain what they have in terms of finances and status than if her child's okay. And from other scenes, we will see that Julie thinks that she's doing what's best for her daughters, because Marissa has a sister, and she loves them very deeply, but the dynamic is just really harmful and difficult for Marissa to navigate. Next, we have Marissa's father, Jimmy Cooper, who is an OC native. He is the really connection that Marissa and the Cooper family has to the Cohens, which is like the lead family of the series. He used to date the mother of that family. They're next door neighbors. Like, they're very close still, very close friends with that family. Jimmy Cooper is a bumbling idiot at like best, a serious gambling addict and grifter at worst. I would probably put him closer to that worst category than that best category. In the first season, we learned very early that he's stolen money from his clients. Like, he does like investments or something, and he just stole all their money. Like, all those people don't have a retirement fund. They don't have the kids' college fund anymore. Like, he just stole it. But he's also shown as Marissa's lifeline. Like, she considers Jimmy to be her safe space, but he's not a reliable safe space. She wants to live with him after her parents split, and that's where she feels the most at home. But because of some other circumstances that we'll get to later, she can't really be there. She can't live there with her father, and he takes that as an opportunity to jump ship. When things get hard, Jimmy leaves. He sails off to Hawaii. He sails off to God knows where in season 3. Like, Jimmy just leaves. And times get hard pretty often, and Marissa's typically in the center of the storm. So to have the one parent that you consider to be your safe space has to be really difficult to watch them turn around and walk out the door all the time, because as an adult, they can't step in and support you. Marissa often ends up floating, really looking for something to hold on to, and you'll see how that impacts her character as we keep talking about her. But she lacks a parent who truly feels like someone she can trust, and it has to be hard, especially when her rest of her life is so tumultuous. Like, being a teenager is hard enough. Being Marissa Cooper is even harder. And while her parents are in a safe space, Marissa doesn't even have like a physical safe space to go to. In season 1, she is nearly evicted from her childhood home. Her soon-to-be stepdad steps in and buys it. But her father leaves the house, so she doesn't feel that comfortable there. Then she ends up moving in with her dad just to be manipulated by Caleb later to move into this McMansion prison that she doesn't want to live in with Caleb and her mom. Let's talk a little bit about Marissa's traumas and struggles. The first one that we really need to talk about is alcohol and substances. It is very clear, even from the pilot episode of The OC, that Marissa Cooper has a drinking problem, if not a substance abuse problem overall. Ryan finds her at the end of like the first episode of the show, passed out drunk, left by her friends on her front porch because they can't find the keys to get her into the house. And it's insinuated when her friends leave her there that this happens more often than they'd like to admit. Not even like 10 whole episodes later, like this has to be like in a 5-episode window, honestly, I should check. Not even like 5-6 episodes later, Marissa ODs in Mexico on like a unofficial school trip after she catches her boyfriend Luke cheating on her with somebody who's supposed to be her friend, and around the same time finds out that her parents are getting divorced and her dad is moving out, and she just like melts down and ODs on pills and alcohol. This is one of the times I'm like conflicted with Julie, because she, after the OD, Julie thinks that like this is a time to like send Marissa away. And I understand wanting to get your kid some help, but it seemed like she was more interested in making sure that Newport society couldn't talk about her daughter and get her away from Ryan, because Julie swears that Ryan is the Antichrist, than actually getting her child the help she needed, listening to what her struggle was. She's not okay. And no one really seems to notice how not okay she is until it's almost too late with the like OD, except for her friends, essentially. Like, they understand how dire the situation is when Marissa goes missing and what might happen to her, because they've kind of been monitoring the situation. And to be fair, 2 out of 3 of these friends met Marissa in the pilot, essentially. Speaking of poor mental health and being ignored, Marissa also appears to struggle with depression. Again, this show premiered in like 2004, so the conversations about mental health aren't that aware, but they are happening. So during the series, I think one of the best examples of this is early on in season 2. Ryan has moved back to Chino. Marissa's living in the McMansion prison that she's been forced to live in by Caleb, and her mom comes by and she's like, Marissa, we're supposed to go to this workout class together, why aren't you going? What's wrong with you? And Marissa's like, you want to know what's wrong with me? And then she just starts screaming. And it would be hilarious if it wasn't so sad. Like, she's like yelling, she's like, ah, and like flips over this beach chair. She's in a bikini. Like, it's kind of funny, but it's also sad, because it's just like, Marissa's like, you don't listen to me. Like, I have to scream and act like a crazy person to be heard about how I'm feeling. And she's like heartbroken and sad. And the guy that she like loves, who also seems to be one of the only people in the city who gets her, is gone, and she's forced to live with her mom, who she hates, and her stepdad, who she also hates, and her dad's gone, and she's just like, what am I supposed to do?
Why do we have to keep doing this? Honey, instead of shutting me out, just tell me what's bothering you. You really want to know what's bothering me? Do you? Do you really want to know what's on my mind? Yes.
And I think that's also why she turns to those substances. They kind of fill a void. They fill that emptiness that she feels. She's like drinking a lot when some of the problems are around, but she drinks a lot like when Ryan's gone and all of these kinds of things. Like, it's really a way to deal with her loneliness. And when they do send her to therapy, that also doesn't turn out so great. We'll get there. But she just is struggling. My girl is struggling, and since she doesn't have the support system, her dad's not there to figure out that there's something going on with her, and her mom is Julie, so she doesn't really, I think she cares, but she doesn't know how to care correctly. And then at the end of season 2, Marissa ends up getting evicted with her mom after Caleb dies. At the top of season 3, like, she moves in with her best friend Summer. Her mom is living in a trailer park. They're poor. She also ends up getting kicked out of school, so there's that level and layer of like instability. Marissa literally is like losing it all in season 3, and season 3 is also the season where, you know, her demise comes. And I think while there are complaints about how it's written, and I have my own complaints about how it's written, you can kind of see the writing on the wall that Marissa's ending is not going to be the happiest unless something happens and fast. And now we're going to talk about the big topic. For this part of the video, I am going to include a trigger warning. We will be talking about, so if you don't want to talk about, then I will put either on the screen or in the description the timestamp that you can go to skip past this conversation. But we can't talk about the demise and the downfall of Marissa Cooper without talking about the storyline. So, in season 2, Ryan's brother Trey is released from prison and ends up moving in with the Coens and then like into his own apartment in the OC that Marissa helps him get. And he gets a job that Marissa helps him get. And Ryan is in Miami doing something with the Coen family. So Marissa's like, I'm going to help your brother get a job since like you're my boyfriend and I love you and you want your brother around. I'm going to make sure he has a job that keeps him living here. And then after he gets the job, she's like, I'm going to celebrate with Trey. They're going to have margaritas and watch The Notebook because it's her favorite movie. And she's like, you've never seen it. You have to see it. So there's Marissa being this sweet, giving, kind girl who just wants to help her boyfriend's brother stay around because she wants her boyfriend to have that like stability and family connection. And how does Trey repay her? He tries to assault her on the beach. And if that's not enough trauma, then at the end of the season, like literally this is the most iconic scene from the OC, like can't be a spoiler. It was parodied on SNL. You've seen the parody at least. But Ryan like goes over to beat up his brother because he's like, how dare you try to my girlfriend and like one of my best friends or like anyone for that matter. But like it's particularly this girl who's been so kind and giving to you. And Trey like tries to kill him. Like he's like choking him out. So it has a gun. So like Marissa grabs the gun when it falls on the ground. And it's like, and then they play what you say, like you know that part. And like it's not funny, but she has to deal with the trauma of like shooting someone and shooting someone who was trying to kill her boyfriend, and that same person tried to assault her. And no one gets my girl some therapy. They tried it. Like Julie does everything but talk to Marissa about what happened. Like it's so bad. And I'm just supposed to expect her to be okay when we go into season 3, and she's not. And she doesn't feel like she can talk to Ryan about it, and we'll talk about her relationship with Ryan later. But because it's his brother and like that is a really complicated situation to be in, she doesn't feel like she can talk to him, and he doesn't feel like he can talk to her about it. And so she just ends up spiraling. And every decision that Marissa makes in season 3 is directly connected to this moment. And that's why I can't necessarily say Marissa was horribly written to the point where this was not a likely ending. I think the ending is nuts, but like we'll get there. Let's talk about her romantic partners. The first romantic partner that I want to talk about for Marissa is Oliver. I know he's not technically a romantic partner. I can feel you people in the comments already if you're a fan of the show. But Oliver is someone that Marissa meets in the lobby of her therapist's office after her OD. And they bond over being mentally ill, basically. And he's a great example of how Marissa tries to use men and boys to fill voids in her life. She thinks that helping Oliver will help her feel less lonely, but will also helping him will make her feel like a better, more healthy person. It's very clear that she thinks that Oliver is so messed up that if I can help him, then I'm good. I don't need any more help. She feels very distant from everyone and like her life is spiraling. So it's like Oliver is a situation that she feels like she has some control over. And she gets so immersed in this that she ignores all the red flags. And while I don't think Ryan handled the situation 100% perfectly, Ryan was at least waving the red flags in her face, and she just eyes glazed over. And that situation ends with a weapon pointed at Marissa and Ryan trying to get the cops into the room to save her life because she just needed to help Oliver so bad. It's like she can't save her dad, she can't fix her own life, so she has to fix this boy's life. And that's really how she feels in a lot of relationships. So let's quickly touch on Luke. Luke is Marissa's boyfriend at the top of the series, and it's obvious she's unhappy in the relationship and that Luke is cheating on her frequently. So he's not a great guy, but she stays with him because she thinks that's what's expected of her. Her mom is all about appearances, like we've talked about before. So staying with him for the appearances is not that like surprising of a thing for Marissa to do because that's really what she's been trained to do by Julie. Later in the series, after Luke and her breakup and Marissa ends up with Ryan, Luke sleeps with Julie Cooper. Yes, Marissa's mother. And that kind of destroys their friendship. Also really paints what's wrong with the Julie relationship. Like, I wouldn't trust my mom either. What do you mean you're dating my ex? My ex from like 3 months ago. Are you serious? Luke demonstrates how much of a facade there is over Marissa's life, and also just is a great stand-in for how dysfunctional Julie is, because why would she do that? The next partner of Marissa Cooper's is Alex. Marissa Cooper is canonically bisexual. Alex is played by Olivia Wilde of Don't Worry Darling press tour fame. Alex and Marissa are very serious very fast. She meets Alex, and then shortly thereafter she moves in with her. Marissa is a junior in high school at this time, and she moves in with her girlfriend. And I think that's really another good example of Marissa rushing into things. She wants to get out of the McMansion prison, as we've mentioned before, and Alex is this teenager living on her own, and she's like, I'm just gonna go do that with Alex too. And she's not ready to do that, and Alex really isn't ready to be doing it either, but she's been doing it longer and hasn't had the same pampered life as Marissa. Like, she isn't as rich, and so that creates a really big bridge in their relationship. And so does Ryan, because Ryan is Ryan and he's always going to be there, and Alex can't necessarily deal with that, which she shouldn't have to. But I actually don't think this is Marissa's worst relationship. It's probably like second, because all the other ones are so awful, but it's second to the like Ryan relationship. I think that if this was a relationship where they had like met and just dated and not moved in together as children, maybe it could have gone somewhere. It could have been a little bit more fun or lasted a little bit longer. But Alex wasn't mature enough. Marissa for sure wasn't mature enough, and Ryan was always going to be there. Johnny. Oh, sweet, delusional Johnny. Johnny is a guy that Marissa meets when she goes to public school at the start of season 3. He's a surfer. He's basically like a Ryan if Ryan had had more of a stable home and like lived in the OC a little bit longer. He's really a part of a friend group, but like he has his own Seth, it has his own Marissa. He has a girlfriend when they meet. That girlfriend cheats on him, and even before he cheated, Marissa and Johnny are just getting kind of inappropriately close. She's supposed to be dating Ryan, but her and Johnny bond because they both have some traumas that they like to talk about with each other, and she can talk to him about the Trey situation in a way that feels safer than talking about it with Ryan. And that's really understandable, but it just doesn't go well. And Marissa doesn't see Johnny as a romantic partner ever. Like, it never really goes there. Even after her and Ryan break up, it's not giving that. And that drives poor Johnny crazy because Johnny gets hit by a car, and I'm pretty sure it was either Ryan or Marissa's fault. So, like, he gets hit by a car, and his, like, career's over and doomed, and, like, he's miserable, and he doesn't know what to do with his life, and then Marissa's depressed, and so there we go again with more traumas and more stress, and Marissa thinking she can solve or save this boy's life. And when he's rejected from Marissa, he gets super drunk and falls off a cliff. Marissa shot someone, and now her buddy, pal, possibly future date, like boyfriend, goes over a cliff, and Marissa sees it. That's the end of Marissa Cooper. She can't talk to her mom about it. She can't talk to Ryan about it because Ryan's also there when it happens because Ryan tries to save him. She can't talk to her dad because her dad's gone. Who is Marissa supposed to talk to about this? That was the person she talked to about the last trauma, and he's gone. Now we have Volchuk, who we are introduced to because he is the person that Johnny's girlfriend cheats on Johnny with. I don't know why she dates him, other than him and Johnny are enemies, but they used to be best buddies or like surf bros or something, and she feels connected to him because she has trauma and he seems sad, and she thinks that she can save this bad boy or fix this bad boy's life. And kind of like Trey, when it doesn't go the way they want it to, it ends badly. But unfortunately, this time, Volchuk is the person who kills Marissa Cooper. Yes. When I say she didn't stand a chance, I meant that Marissa Cooper doesn't make it to the 4th season of the OC. And I think that Marissa's unaliving at the hands of Volchuk really just shows, like, it started with Oliver, and then we see, like, Johnny can't handle it. Like, Trey does what he does to her. Like, Marissa is very bad at this. And she doesn't have anyone to talk to. And so she turns to some of the worst people imaginable to talk about her problems. And I think these romantic partners really, like, seal the deal for her. Like I said before, Oliver, she ignores red flags. She thinks she can save him. Trey, she thinks she can help him for Ryan. Then we have Johnny, who she thinks she can really help and talk to after the Trey thing happens. And then Volchuk, who was the worst choice that she made, but isn't that much different than the other people that we've talked about. Marissa doesn't make good decisions, but she also makes these decisions because she has no one else in her life she can talk to except the core 4. Well, I guess the core 3, because she is a member of the core 4. First, Summer. Summer, the queen that she is Marissa's best friend. I don't like to really think about Summer in the first couple episodes of the OC because it's very clear that her character was meant to be like a recurring or like side character that didn't get a lot of screen time. But thank goodness the writers discovered the wrong in their actions. It made her a full-time character and like a lead, just as equal of like Seth, Ryan, and Marissa. She is a star. But she is always there for Coop, whether she has to beat somebody up for hurting Coop's feelings, whether she has to sit down and talk to the girl and get her to tell her what happened with Trey. Summer is always down. She's a ride or die. And I think she is one of the only people that Marissa has. I think a good example of Summer and how down she is for Marissa is that when Julie threatens to send her to Grippy Sock vacation, basically after the OD, Summer puts on a Candy Striper outfit that she used to wear when she volunteered and like breaks my girl out of the hospital. And I think that Marissa needed that friend very badly. You can't talk about Summer without talking about Seth. Seth is a surprising friend for Marissa because despite their parents being best friends and them being neighbors their whole life, they do not talk until the series starts and like Ryan comes around. Like the second episode of the show is like the first time they've ever had a conversation. But Marissa and Seth talk a lot. And I think their best talks are the ones where they kind of learn that they're more similar than different. One of my favorite moments, I think, is in season 2 when Seth and Marissa are sitting on a bench at the beach and he's like, I can't believe we're the most lonely people in Orange County. I always expect for myself to be the most lonely person, but you're Marissa Cooper. Like, you're not supposed to be alone. And I think they really get each other from the standpoint of feeling isolated and different from everyone else. They experience it in a different way. And so I think Seth is a really good resource for Marissa to kind of check herself at times. Like, I think that's one of the only times she like takes accountability is when she talks to Seth, outside of when she talks to Ryan Atwood. I put Ryan at the end of this video instead of with the romantic interest because Ryan Atwood is a lot more than that in Marissa Cooper's life. He is 911. He is the cop. He is a firefighter. He is every woman. It is all in Ryan Atwood, especially when it comes to Marissa Cooper. He saves her from the OD. He saves her from Oliver. He beats up Trey after he finds out what happened. He tries to get Marissa back into school several times. Some failures, some successes. I think every time Marissa has a problem, Ryan is really the person that solves it. And I don't think that that's a fair weight to put on a teenage boy's shoulders who has so many issues like Ryan does. Ryan is caring He's loyal. He's protective. He is the only other person I think Marissa feels safe with outside of her dad. And he's more consistent than her father, but he's still a teenage boy with his own problems. He provides space for her that I don't think a lot of other people do to really feel what she's feeling, but he also holds her pretty accountable as much as he can for someone who's in love with this girl. And I think this relationships, especially the one with Ryan, but also with Seth and Summer, really show that having good friends is not enough. There were other things that Marissa was going through, and she needed adults in her life. She needed some stability. She needed a home she felt safe in, a parent she could talk to, a therapist, maybe multiple. And she just had issues, and there's nothing wrong with a character having issues. There's nothing wrong with any people in real life having issues, but the way she was written and the things that she went through, it's almost inevitable that her story was going to end the way that it did. And that's why overall, I think Marissa Cooper is one of the most interesting lead characters and leading ladies in TV. She explores topics like sexuality and addiction, and while she's not perfectly written, she's extremely compelling to watch. This is a character who on the surface seems like she has it all, but you look a little bit deeper and the cracks start to show. Maybe with better parents and or a more stable situation, her character's demise may not have happened so soon, if even at all. But for her, unfortunately, it seems the cards and the writer's room was stacked against her. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you liked my first video essay. And if you did, please leave a like and a comment. And also hit that bell to subscribe if you want to see more video essays from me. I really love talking about TV, so most of them will be like pop culture and TV based. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.